My new thing is that I missed the intro.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Because I know everyone's waiting for it.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Vergecast 200, the 200th episode of the Vergecast. I'm Nilay Patel. It's Vergecast. The Vergecast is brought to you by Scissor Vodka, which is a vodka brand that I've made up, and that I will continue pretend reading ads for at the beginning of the Vergecast until someone gives me money to make it real. Scissor Vodka. Cut through the night.
If you're listening, we have a Scissor Vodka prop.
Yeah,
It's
someone
beautiful.
Made me a bottle for
It's spray painted gold.
For
I'm sorry,
Vergecast
it's a
200?
gold bottle.
It's a gold bottle.
It's got a wireframe scissor.
Yeah, it's
scissors.
very nice. Green logo on the top.
Yeah.
Huh?
I'm going to say this forever. Anyway,
It's an inside joke.
I think so.
don't worry about it.
What if they're a vodka called Scissor? Think
Is
about
it a joke from someplace else?
All right, so
No jokes, Nilay.
no jokes. We don't.
I feel
after
like I've
200
heard.
episodes-
You've definitely pitched me on Scissor Vodka.
Oh, yeah,
At some
definitely.
point in our life.
Look, here's what I'm going to tell you. It's the 200th episode of the show. It is also, in a quirk of timing, almost exactly 5 years since all of us started quitting our jobs to start The Verge, which is crazy. So in honor of all of that, I've assembled an all-star roster of Verge OGs on the show today. So Paul Miller is here.
Hi.
Paul, Vergecast listeners might remember Paul.
As Paul.
It's Paul. How's it going with that name pronunciation?
Paul.
It's getting better. Joanna Stern is here.
Just Joanna.
It's like I invite you on the show and then you bring this vibe every time.
What vibe?
You're like, I don't know. Joanna.
I'm not going to talk to
You're
you.
still really far away from the microphone.
No, I'm not.
All right. Chris Ziegler's here. You got to talk into the microphone. He's not. It's an audio
He's
show.
so far away from the microphone.
Hi.
It's the worst.
I just want to point out that through a payroll quirk, I actually never quit Engadget. Gonna get that fixed.
That would really be amazing.
Ross Miller is here.
You might also
Brother
know
to
me.
Paul.
You might know me as Paul. Is that Paul on the Vergecast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Dieter Brown is here as well.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
The only
I'm not
people-
special.
Dieter, the correct distance away from the microphone.
Yeah.
Not immediately bringing the show down.
No gimmicks.
Yeah, no gimmicks, no hats.
You see what you
Dieter,
get.
just calm,
You
professional.
get what you see.
What is that a burn? Is that a compliment?
No, he.
The quietest man in tech.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. So here's
someone
what I
give
thought
you
we would
that
do.
title?
We got a show.
Yeah.
We got all the OGs back in town. It's the 200th episode. I kind of want to do a thing that we've never done before. Which is,
Behind the music.
yeah, which is go behind the music. So Joanna, when did you become addicted to drugs?
Well, that's what's in here, right?
Yeah.
No, it's a gold tube of drugs. I don't think you're supposed to.
Definitely don't want to do what you're about to do. You don't want to blow on
We have hats and sparklers. It's silly. No, let's talk about it. So we were all, except for Dieter. Dieter was at
not blow
Smartphone
on this?
Experts.
You're supposed to just shake.
You're also not supposed to talk over each other well.
That's not how it used to be.
It is, and we're way more professional now, as evidenced by the fake vodka ad, the immediate talking over each other, and Chris lying about still taking a paycheck from AOL. So most of us were.
I mean, be honest though. You probably still have 1 or 2 laptops that AOL gave you.
Oh, I have like televisions, laptops, you name it.
Ross, you have
My lawyers advised me not to actually speak
Yeah,
to the
right.
matter.
because you
Unfortunately,
sold it on
I'm
eBay.
Ross's lawyer. It's a very confusing situation. No, let's talk about it. So 5 years ago, The Verge did not exist. The name didn't even exist. We were all still working at AOL 5 years ago at Engadget. I actually have Engadget on March 7th, 2011 open on my computer right now. Let me read you some headlines. Let me read you the work that we were producing 5 years ago. Joanna Stern.
Oh.
The Sony Vaio S arrives stateside.
Oh,
Brings
no.
along an advanced extended battery.
I don't want to hear about this.
Oh, you were worried Sony wasn't going to release its new Vaio S Ultra Portable in the U.S. Okay, so it has taken the company a bit longer to prep the 13.3-inch laptop for its American debut, but it's here, and it was well worth the wait.
Let me see a picture of this laptop.
Do you remember this laptop?
Yeah,
at
that
all?
thing was well worth the wait.
It was not. That thing had a
That
terrible
definitely
plastic
was
lid.
well worth the. Yeah.
We got Thomas Ricker writing about Windows Phone Mango, which was going to miss its 2011 target.
Question mark.
Updated. We got Vlad writing about the Samsung Galaxy Pro with a 2.8-inch touchscreen over a portrait QWERTY.
That still looks like an amazing phone to me.
Yeah, it really does.
It does.
Portrait QWERTY for life.
Let's see.
Except
Vlad again.
no.
The Odroid A tablet fits a 1366 by 768 res screen on a 10-inch display with a dual-core Exynos inside a transparent shell.
Not a Zyboard.
Zyboards run out. And then Chris,
I reviewed the Zyboard for the
breaking some news. The Sprint website put up a page for the Nexus listed
And
as
pulled it
coming
down.
soon. I think this was before the Galaxy Nexus,
Right.
right?
Right.
No, Nexus S.
Yeah.
So this is where we were 5 years ago. We were like
Samsung's.
we were hardcore gadget blogging,
Yep.
and we were doing really well. I would dare say, we were the best gadget blog in the world. Yes, I mean it was us and Giz, right?
I just want to point out Ross just went.
We were trying.
Oh, we did our best.
We weren't the best, but we did our
We
best.
did our best.
We were the best try-hard gadget blog in the world.
so
13
So it's super clear. I wasn't at Engadget,
Wasn't
and
at
so as
So you
as
thought
a
you were the best.
objective external observer of the gadget blog wars, Engadget was the best.
Nice.
I would
You didn't think you were the best?
I wasn't running a gadget blog per se. I was running a bunch of smartphone communities,
Oh,
which
right.
included gadget blogs, but weren't solely gadget blogs. But any day that I managed to beat Engadget to a piece of news, I felt very, very good.
Nice.
Any time I managed to get a link from Engadget for some news that I had personally broken, I also felt very, very good.
Yeah, I mean it was.
Oh yeah, the links were the thing.
I just want to check how sharp I am still.
Yeah.
It's 1366 by 768 WXGA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every netbook.
I mean, this is about as old school as a gadget podcast as it can get. Anyway, so then Paul and Josh and I were hosting the Engadget podcast, which was great. We had the Engadget show. We were doing great. It was like a good time. And then we asked, then AOL became AOL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then this is the part that nobody knows. We developed in secret a plan to leave AOL.
Nobody knows that.
Yes. And we started a website, which nobody knows about, called The Verge.
Right. Well, first
Wait,
Started-
actually,
this is my
first
next.
people know about it.
after we left Engadget, we were all hired suspiciously quickly by Vox Media,
No, it wasn't.
then known as
SB Nation,
SB Nation,
as reported by Kara Swisher.
Sports Blogs Nation.
Sports Blogs Incorporated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was.
Again, I am still an AOL employee.
And we started This Is My Next.
We started
Yeah.
This Is My Next.
I
But
think This Is My
nobody
Next is
ever-
actually the best gadget blog of all time.
It was
that
great.
was solid.
It had some real.
The best thing about This Is My Next was it was just blogging. You know, we didn't have like anything, right? We had
a press.
only a word. We had a WordPress blog
Yep, no
and a
editors,
laptop.
no copy editors, no spell check. Just
and a laptop. That's it. We
We
didn't
did
even
get-
have power.
Joanna's like, wow, she had a solar cell.
I went to Paul. I used to go to Paul Miller's apartment to steal his power, and then he lost power, and we had no power.
Well, no. So before we started This Is My Next, we all quit.
We had our independent blogs.
And we
Watching
quit.
all of you quit, it was like, oh yeah,
It wasn't as sly as we thought.
it was not sly at all.
Well, I was reading some like Business Insider coverage of us quitting yesterday, which is insane because there's a lot of it. Like it was like AOL bought TechCrunch. Michael Arrington used to like write nasty shit about us, about Engadget buying ads that
Slow
real
news
blogs
day.
don't do. Yeah, it was like a war. It's crazy. AOL, and like there'd be articles in Business Insider being like, how long will the Engadget editors last? How long will they take it? It's crazy.
Right.
But that wasn't actually. What's funny about it is that had nothing to do with it. Like
Actually,
ultimately,
can we talk about Paul Miller's extremely salty post when he
Yes.
left?
Oh yeah, which
It's
is
the
gone now.
AOL
It's deleted. I was
way.
looking for it.
You
yesterday.
deleted it?
Paul wrote maybe the greatest mic drop. I'm quitting this place post of all time when he left it.
I didn't delete it. It's just link rot. I need to put it back up. I made my own WordPress blog called Paul Miller or something like that. And I wrote
name.
something called Leaving AOL, which
yeah,
speaking of TechCrunch wrote a scathing review of it's like 5 rules for stunt resignation posts that I broke all of them. But basically, there was a scuttlebutt around AOL, this thing called the AOL way.
yes.
Oh, right.
Which was
Now
going to
I'm
be this
remembering.
new directive for content that was all based on SEO and traffic optimization and chasing trends, and had nothing to do with writers producing quality stuff that they're interested in. It was just all suits, turning writers into drones.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of reasons for leaving, including to start The Verge eventually. But I thought the AOLA perfectly encapsulated what a big media company like AOL could do to screw up a beautiful thing like Engadget. And so I wrote about how I hated it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Dieter and I read the AOL Way again this morning.
Yeah, we did.
We did because it's on Business Insider. Like Business Insider did an admirable job of covering this thing.
Did the AOL Way ever happen though?
It did in some places. I don't think it ever hit Engadget, and I think Engadget continues to this day to be like its own special butterfly. But we read it this morning, and it's like now 5 years in, we run the place, and we're like, oh, this actually describes media business. But like if an alien had come to Earth and was like, here's how media businesses work. They publish stories and put advertising next to them and then think how much the stories are worth and then try to figure out what people are interested in. And it had nothing to do with journalism.
Right.
It was like you should read, it's like fascinating. They literally in this document scheduled out all of the meetings that everyone in the company should have every day and like what everyone should be doing. It was called the Town Meeting Cadence. Engadget was in a part of the company known as Tech Town.
I sat
that's
there.
Right.
Yeah, I sat in Tech Town too.
Wait,
Town.
you could sit in Tech Town?
There were physical real estate.
There were signs above our heads.
street
Did they
signs
have?
up above.
Did they have like what's the like Playmobil like furniture? Like was it actually
Oh, no.
made to look like a Tech Town?
No, it was made to look
Were there,
like a
like-
corporate office building.
It was really
Was there, like, Christmas Town with
cubicles
elves?
the sign.
Like, I think it was like Richard B. Scary kind of design.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyhow. This is ridiculous. I can't even imagine. Like, can you imagine being like the town concept lasted for like 5 seconds.
Right.
Like they rolled it out, and then
Like
I'm pretty
everything.
sure Tim Armstrong was like, "I'm the CEO of a major American corporation, and I just told everyone that our company is basically a country, and they run towns, and that's the metaphor I'm going with." And he was like, "No."
And that the heads of departments are mayors.
Yes. They were mayors.
What?
Yes,
No.
mayors. Yep. We had a mayor.
What if you wanted to be unincorporated?
It was like a
be.
village.
Yeah. Or like a city?
Yeah, I don't want your damn plumbing.
Unacceptable.
America. It was ridiculous. So like all this is happening. They rolled out this plan. We couldn't get new investment. We couldn't hire anybody. We were having a hard time upgrading the site. It was like a big stuff.
You couldn't hire me.
I tried to hire Dieter. We could tell this story. I met Dieter at Build when Windows Phone was coming out. Remember that the old time Engadget Verge people will know this. When Windows Phone first came out, they unveiled it. And then for like a month, all they would say is, "You'll find out more at Build."
Yeah.
Yeah, was that in Las Vegas?
It was,
Yes.
it was in
It
Vegas.
was definitely in Vegas.
For a month. Like literally, you'd be like, "Hey, is this screenshot accurate?" And they'd be like, "You'll find out more at Build." Like crazy. Like, "Is this a puppy?" Like, "You'll find out more at Build." So I went to Build to cover it.
You and I were staying at the Four Seasons for some reason. Can I just point that out?
Oh, we were?
What?
Because we worked at Engadget.
AOL always put us up at the most insane hotels.
Yeah.
So Neil and I
was-
were at the Four Seasons.
I was.
No, not Ross and I. Ross, remember when we went to
Oh, in Germany?
Hamburg? What was it?
Yeah.
was that
Leipzig, I
town?
think.
Hanover.
Hanover. We went
Oh,
to
right.
Hanover, and I think I actually was killed that night.
I mean, I
And
was
they came
staying
back
at
to life.
Excalibur and like happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we were at
Come
the Four
on.
Seasons, and quite frankly, the room service was atrocious. No, by the end at AOL, the expense process had been so whittled away that I could just log directly into SAP and type in numbers. I was like, sure. It was ridiculous. It was like the last days of disco, like the most decadent. Anyway, so we're at Build. I met Dieter. Full disclosure, Dieter and I got very drunk.
Yeah.
And then I was like, we should come work at Engadget. And then went back to AOL, like flew home.
Yeah.
And Dieter was like, sent me an email. I was like, love to take you up on that offer. And I was like, hey, can we hire someone? And AOL was like a roar of voices screaming no.
Yeah.
And I was so embarrassed that I didn't talk to Dieter again for a long time.
Seriously, like just I'm like, oh yeah, here's like, but here I'd like to work. What's the deal? And they're like, yeah, cool.
I'd like to work.
And then stop talking to me.
I like to work.
Didn't reply to emails. Just went totally radio
I was
silent.
super embarrassed.
I assumed I'd done something horribly wrong.
Well, we were very drunk. Just like ridiculously drunk. Anyway, but then we were all quitting, and we were thinking about how do we expand our team. And Dieter, literally the first person that we called, literally the first person we hired. But tell your story, Dieter. Dieter has a story. a deep, dark. I don't think the listeners.
I don't know if I'm allowed to tell the story. It might technically be under NDA.
The company doesn't exist.
Okay, so I went out to interview for this job. By then, This Is My Next had launched. And I actually had 2 interviews. One was to talk to Josh Topolsky about coming to This Is My Next. And the other one was to go be a PR executive at Palm. And
You made the wrong decision.
yeah.
Look what happened to
The
Paul.
interview with Josh, I met him at
Could have
a...
saved Paul.
What if he had gone there and saved
What
it?
if you'd saved Paul?
Yeah.
We would all be happier, better people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The interview
web
with Josh was
wouldn't
at a San Francisco bar. I met him at like 12:30 at night, and we talked till like 3 in the morning. And then I drove back down to Sunnyvale, and then had to wake up to be at Palm at 8 o'clock to start those interviews, and that ran for like 6 hours because it's like a standard corporate, gamut. What's the word?
No, you had to
Gauntlet.
interview with like
Gauntlet.
15 different
Gauntlet,
people.
right?
Yeah.
And then I had
The
to
only
choose
15
between
people
those 2
still
jobs.
working there.
There's nobody left.
And I took
They're
the
all
crazy risky.
No, I'm saying he had to
dangerous
interview
plunge.
then with 15 people.
They offer you a job. You literally chose This Is My Next over Paul.
I took the risky bet. I bet on the crazy startup that would probably fail instead of the big safe
Wait, but that
corporate
was
job.
what was the
And
last thing
then
they had
Paul
launched?
just exploded.
What did they hadn't launched the touchpad or VR
they had.
yet? They had.
No, they had launched a touchpad.
Yeah,
Oh,
touchpad
man.
Veer
Then
3.
then they had launched pretty much everything they were always going to launch forever and ever.
Yes, the last. No, they put out the pre.
They put out the pre-3 in like Europe for like a minute, and then they canceled the whole thing.
So that would have been what you would have gotten to work on if you had taken.
No,
that
I was
job.
going to work on WebOS as a platform, not on hardware.
Oh, well, that would have been also the last thing you were going to work on.
The day I knew I was going to leave AOL was the touchpad launch event. Because I was live logging it and we were beating everybody in coverage because we were very good at beating everybody in coverage.
Because my website crashed, and I was live blogging by sending AOL instant messages to my boss back in Florida so that he could hand code them in HTML and put it on precentral.net.
Verge OGs. No, so I was like live blogging, and I don't remember who was sitting next to me. And they leaned over and they looked at the site and they were like, "Cool belly fat ads on Engadget." And I had spent the entire week before that pleading with the company, like, don't run garbage ads on event, like, don't run them ever. But like, particularly when we know there's like an influx of eyeballs, don't run belly fat ads on Engadget. So just don't do it. And I got everyone's support. And they promised it wasn't going to happen, and it totally happened. I sent this furious email. I was like, this just happened. And like, we turned them off and like did it again. They were still there. And I was like, I just want you guys to know that a competitor literally leaned over while I was beating him to check what he was missing and told me and made fun of the ads on the site. Like, this is awful. And I got this reply from an AOL executive that was like, we win as a team. And I was like, dude, my team is fucking winning. What is your team doing? And I was like, I looked at Josh, and Josh was like, yeah, we should quit. Like, it was like basically the day we're out the door. Paul, Joanna, what was your exit story?
I just left.
Yeah, you just bailed.
Yeah.
No drama.
Joanna wasn't.
I wasn't a
full-time?
full. Yeah, I mean that was one of the reasons. Josh was so angry for many years. I worked there for 2 years with you guys, and he could never hire me full time.
Yeah.
Because AOL didn't want to have, or you guys didn't have headcount. So I was a freelancer and would make like a chunk of change every month, and I would save my money for taxes and pay my own insurance and stuff like that. It's a good experience looking back on it, because it's like, I think many people just graduate from college now, get a job, and they're like, oh, my money that's where it goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, life.
Do you still save a chunk of money for like other things? Like now.
I mean, now I make more money.
Break down your monthly budget.
Now I make more money than then.
Yeah,
so you guys were all full time, and I mean,
No,
so
Chris wasn't.
No,
you weren't full time
What?
either.
I remember. So I have two great stories about Chris. When I went, the first day I interviewed at Engadget, Ryan Block was like, "Oh, there's this guy Chris. He lives near you in Chicago." And Chris took me for a drink, and he was like, "Well, it's nice to meet you. Most people don't make it. I'll see you later."
I was traumatized because we had just fired like 3 people in the span of like 3 months. I was like, I'm going to be real with you.
He's like, most people don't last. So that was that. And then the second one was when I was taking a full-time job. When I was quitting a lawyer, full-time job, I went out for a drink with Chris, and he's like, I don't know, man. AOL sounds like a lot of bullshit.
I was right.
But Chris, where were you?
So my exit was basically like then when everyone was starting to leave, I was one of the last to actually give the notice. They preemptively said, "Oh, we have a full-time opening for you," and guess what? Actually, we have a lot of money.
That's because it just freed up.
Right. Like, there was money. There was a full-time job. There was benefits.
Yeah. We've been AOL all along.
Yeah. There was an actual laptop. I think they tried to bribe me with a laptop because I never had a company-issued laptop.
They were going to assign
Yeah.
3 elderly people's dial-up accounts directly to funding you.
To funding me.
You were
Actually,
paying,
like
$29.95 a month. From like
Josh
100
gave
grand
me,
was
I
around
think
the
he like allotted me some extra money one month to buy my own laptop to work there because I couldn't get like company stuff.
I mean, I will say this was like the thing that enraged us all.
Yeah.
Anyway, where
It
were
was
you
me.
before?
It was
Joanna.
me.
It's Joanna's fault.
Well, yeah, I was never interested in working full time at AOL. That was not something that intrigued me.
Chris, what's that watch band?
Oh, this is the new Apple Watch.
It's
band.
pink?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Comes in
It's
multiple
cool band.
colors.
So I did the math and I was like, I'm making enough per post so that I should just like write like 100 posts a day.
Yep, I did that math
Which is-
every day.
just
Every
basically-
morning I did that math.
Yeah. And so that's why I quit Engadget with something like 11,000 posts. It's because I was just grinding.
You really did write a lot.
Yeah. Well, I was never going to beat Shotgun Murph, but
No.
Yeah. Machine gun.
Machine gun.
Machine Gun Murph.
By the way, Darren Murph, now the editor of Tech Radar.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
well,
true.
doing well.
That's true. But yeah, so I was, of course, a programmer before I was a writer. And in college, I actually went through the one engineering program where I didn't have to write a single thing. I didn't write a single line of anything in college and hated writing. And then turned out I was actually okay at it, as Ryan Block discovered. So
Yeah.
here I am.
Yeah. So that was more of a quit your promising other career
Yeah.
and try this crazy career.
And here I am.
Ross also wrote a mic drop post.
Yeah, I did. But like after Paul did his, I was like, I'm just not going to compete. I can't do that. So I just kind of redirected it to Paul's and said, just confuse the two. Yeah.
So then we were out, and then we had to like come up with a name. I remember one.
But all of you said that it wasn't the AOL way. All of your mic drop posts were like, it's not the AOL way. And I was reading, I was like,
No, yeah, no, because like
Totally is.
it wasn't. So we just winked at it.
Uh-huh.
It is
Yeah.
and it isn't.
Okay.
Wink.
Yeah, it wasn't imposed on us.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a thing. It was more
But the
like
AOL way was indicative of what AOL was about as a company.
It was a philosophical concern over how the mothership would like
Right.
treat journalism.
right. And also, there were people who were going to stay there.
right.
So if we had been like the AOL way came to Engadget, we're out. Those people would have been
Screwed.
yeah. And it turns out they were in the end because the AOL fired them all. That happens. Media companies. Now AOL is gonna they're gonna Verizon bought
owns AOL.
They're gonna buy Yahoo.
God.
That's the rumor today. Did you hear
Yeah.
this, Joanna?
That what?
Verizon's gonna buy Yahoo and merge it with AOL, and Tim Armstrong's gonna run.
Yeah, I
a
heard
combined
something about this.
Yahoo AOL. It's a circle of life.
It's bizarre.
I mean,
David Pogue.
what happens to exactly. What happens to the tech coverage there?
It's crazy. Anyway, this is like very inside baseball, but it's our 200th episode. If you're gonna do it, this is the episode to do it on.
Yeah, the 2 O's could be like a baseballs.
And they're inside stuff. So Paul, where you
Just a
been?
thought.
I gotta go.
Well, it's like they understand where these 4 people have been, but
Right.
you two are the OGs who flew the coop.
Joanna's behind a paywall. We never see
I'm
her.
actually not. I'm not behind a paywall. I just want to. I'm not behind a paywall. Please read my stuff. Please click the links. Just watch some videos. Just read some articles. Scroll around some photos.
It's true.
Please.
I did just click on one of your links just a second ago.
Yeah, no paywall.
No paywall.
Well, you clicked it off at Twitter though.
Yeah, no.
You can get to some stuff at the Journal.
I don't
No,
know
no,
that
I'm not behind the paywall
That,
right now.
that Google trick is not working for getting through the paywall anymore.
No, they closed it up.
That's
Close it
crazy.
up.
For the record, I'm a paying Wall Street Journal subscriber. Joanna, my money goes directly into your pocket.
Thank you, Chris.
And
You're welcome.
For the read, Chris is a paying Wall Street Journal account, and I stole his password. It's really getting the most out of it.
While I was off the internet, I had a paper Wall Street Journal subscription that my brother bought me, but it was addressed to Paul Pillar.
Wow. Actually, you should
So
talk
thanks,
about
Keith.
being off the internet because I think that a lot of our new listeners have no idea what you're talking about.
I spent a year without using the internet. And
All right, cool.
when I got back, I was really bad at using the internet. And I couldn't quite keep up with the Verge pace and had some other stuff I wanted to do. So I quit the Verge like a few months after I got back. I got back in March of 2013, I think, and then quit in June after E3.
But you
E3
wrote
would break
for.
anybody.
Explain how you wrote for The Verge while you were off the internet.
Oh yeah. So while I was off the internet, The Verge still paid me, and I would write articles and put them on a thumb drive and give them to an editor to be published. So I have a lot of great personal essays about my life and my quirky thoughts about the world, all at The Verge. It's called Offline, is what the series was.
It was great. And it was
Not behind a paywall.
Not behind
Nope.
a paywall.
You know, I didn't want to say
Also
this.
not available offline.
I didn't want to break this early, but for our 5th birthday, the Verge's 5th birthday in November, we were actually going to put in a paywall.
Nice.
It's going to be great.
Finally.
And it's only going to be old Paul and Joanna stuff.
I actually think people might pay for some of that.
What was your favorite Verge thing that you ever did, Joanna?
My Zyboard review.
You know what's funny is that if you say the word Zyboard
We
now-
put the tablets on a skateboard
I got to find this.
because
You don't remember?
bored.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's where I
very
really
exciting.
began my future as using props to illustrate. Which is truly my claim to fame. And some days I worry I will no longer have any props to use that are new.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that what you're doing at the Wall Street Journal right now is truly next level.
Thank you.
I mean, is the journal ready for it? Like, when you publish your
Sometime,
video in the
no.
morning, does the whole newsroom shut down and be like, what did you get up to this time?
Sometimes that happens. Yes, they just halt all news production globally around all bureaus in the world. But no, I mean, I really am running out of props. I mean, I didn't think I would ever be able to beat the BlackBerry and the piece of cheese.
That was really good.
That was amazing.
That was the.
I think that's where I really got the
Passport?
inspiration. Yeah, for the passport.
Yeah, which is shaped.
Still, people very angry about that.
What's shaped like a piece of cheese? I don't know, man. How do you get mad about shapes?
But what's uncanny about it is that it's perfect. It's
Fits
not
perfectly.
close.
Yeah, fits perfectly.
Like they definitely planned around that.
Yeah. Same measurements as when they looked at the thing, we need to do same measurements as a piece of Kraft cheese.
So let's talk. So BlackBerry brings up. By the way, this picture of the Zyboards on a skateboard is.
One of the
It's
best
so
things.
funny. I look at all of our original Verge stuff, all these ideas that we thought were brilliant, our videos.
Mm-hmm.
Joanna and Billy making the first set of video reviews.
But that was like next gen. Like
It was at the time.
it is at the time.
And I look at this picture of tablets on a skateboard now, and I'm like, what the fuck were we thinking?
No, I look at that and say, what weren't they thinking?
Yeah, they thought of everything, including this photo.
It's a great photo.
No, but it's funny. You look at the stuff from back
I mean, the
then.
photo's not good.
The photo is bad.
Yeah, I know. All my photos are really bad.
And
Mine-
Joanna, that's ultimately why we had to let you go.
But really, my photos were always really bad, and I apologize for that.
Yeah.
Sometimes Ross would take my photos.
Those are
Can
even
you
worse.
imagine an Android tablet review in this day and age getting 104 comments?
Yes.
I just don't see it. So that's what I want to talk about now. So
Look at those charts. I handmade those charts
yeah,
with my coding
if you handmade
a chart now.
charts now, our product team would kill you. They would literally
No,
come
there's
downstairs.
it's just a table. It's a supported HTML element.
I made that
But you're not
with
supposed to
my
do-
hands.
Software is supposed to do that work.
Do you
Anyway,
still stand by the 6.0 score?
it's a brutal score.
I actually think it probably should have been lower.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh man! Oh, you were rough in this conclusion. That is ultimately why the Zyboards are not worth the cash. Their pricing is just out there as their names.
It's profound.
They're a good piece of hardware, despite the button and expandable storage issues, with software that's decent, but held back by an ecosystem. I just want to put it out there, even in the early days, just railing on bad ecosystems. Also, Android tablet ecosystem,
Not better.
still not better.
That's amazing to me.
So-
I think you're trying to pivot to talk
trying
about the current
to
state
get
of
to the
tab-
future.
One thing that has never changed is the Android tablet software ecosystem.
It just hasn't. So we talked about BlackBerry back then. Like, I'm looking at our site when we were leaving Engadget in that middle zone. We were able to do gadget coverage in a way that is very difficult to do now, right? The big companies were at the top of their games for that second. So Microsoft was trying to launch a new phone ecosystem. It was very exciting. Android was very exciting, and all the hardware maker. HTC was an exciting company back then.
Yeah.
And now they make the Vive, so I guess they're like medium exciting. I don't know, it hadn't reached its set of dominance in mobile. There was just stuff going on all the time in these zones. BlackBerry was BlackBerry.
Still relevant.
What's going
Yeah,
on
they
now?
were just failing then.
Give me. So let's we've done enough past.
I
Let's
saw
talk about the
someone
future.
using a BlackBerry phone on the subway.
How were they?
I mean,
Did they work for the government?
he was wearing a suit.
Yeah, they all do. Joanna has a BlackBerry. Do you have
I
a
don't.
journal BlackBerry?
I don't have one anymore.
No.
No.
You had one for a minute. You were really into it the last time I saw you with it.
When I worked at ABC, I had another BlackBerry, and I actually was really into it. And then when I moved to the Journal, it was actually very hard for me not to have a BlackBerry. But now I'm full touchscreen all the time,
Yeah.
touching things, screens, stuff.
Wait, so Joanna, you wrote a column this week. This actually fits in.
Yeah,
You
I
were
mean,
like, smartphones are boring, but now they're going to get good again. No, something else is going to happen.
yeah.
Think
Well-
about what you wrote.
Well, it's funny because we think about back at that time. What year was that? I think we're
This is 2011.
yeah. So
This
like we're
iPhone.
actually talking like what 2010
Mm-hmm.
or like when did Motorola launch the Droid? When did Nexus? When did Google
The
launch
Droid was
Nexus?
2009.
Yeah,
the
Droid was
original, the
09.
first Droid was 2009.
And then the Nexus.
The Nexus 1. Was that
No.
the first Nexus?
Nexus 1 was the first one, and that was the following year.
Yeah.
And we was like, oh my God, Google's going to sell phones
Yeah.
directly. It's a Google phone.
And then
Oh,
the Nexus
no.
with Samsung,
Nexus S was Samsung.
and the one right after
It
was
was a
with
Galaxy
Samsung too.
Nexus.
Anyway, we would make a huge deal about those launches. Like I remember if I was sent, like I was one of the ones selected to go live blog one of those, I was like super nervous because there were going to be a ton of eyeballs watching the press. I mean, Vlad and I specifically, this one that we did in Hong Kong, which one was that? Was it
Galaxy Nexus.
Galaxy Nexus.
it was the
Oh,
Galaxy
yeah.
Nexus.
That one was a botch, remember? They told us at the last minute that you guys had to go to Hong Kong.
Right. But it was huge. Like we had huge numbers just from the hands-on and there was so much excitement around phones.
Didn't you guys sneak in ahead of
Yeah,
time?
we snuck in, we got it. We fucked
Yeah.
them all, remember?
No one gets that joke.
Yeah.
Nobody gets it. But
Whenever Joanna got a scoop at Engadget or the early Verge, she would just write into IRC,
Yeah.
we fucked them all. Which then Ross made a picture of a robot fucking them all.
Which I did find the other day. I will share that with the team.
But like we were so, and it wasn't just us. I mean, we were covering it, and that was actually one of the best things, right? We were so excited about what we were covering, but our audience was so excited about it, and people. It was just like the early days of people actually being able to get great smartphone technology. The cameras were being upgraded, the screens were getting better, Android software was getting better. Obviously, the iPhone was doing its own thing, and it's like now it's what 8 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
Maybe less. And it's sort of like, meh. It's just like, when there's a new phone that's announced, it's like, yeah,
Well,
that's good.
The when you would buy a new Android phone every year back then, or even a new iPhone every year back then, you knew that you were getting something that was like markedly better, and
Right.
you would notice it and feel it, and it would like make your life better. Now, like getting a new phone every year, the improvements are not as like holy crap in your face.
And that the Nexus 7, not the Nexus 7, the Nexus, it was just the Nexus, right? The Samsung
There was the Nexus S, and then there was the Galaxy Nexus.
Galaxy Nexus, right? The Galaxy
Which was the
Nexus,
best
I bought
Nexus.
that. Yeah, I bought that
disagree.
phone.
What?
It was my first phone after the Droid 2. I had the Droid 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Droid 2 was my first phone after the BlackBerry, and I thought it was the craziest, best thing ever. Then I got the Nexus, and I thought it was the craziest, best thing ever. It had, at that time, it was like, what size was the screen? 4 inches?
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels so tiny now.
Yeah, and it was so crazy. It was like so big. Like, people were looking at me. How do you put that in your pocket? Oh my gosh, and yeah, exactly. Now there are these phone announcements, and we're kind of just like, and that's pretty much a lot of categories. Even this week, HP announced this new really thin laptop, and I was like, that's we're dealing with like the Dell Adamo all over again.
Yes, it looks like the Adamo.
It's like and I don't know. I don't want to sound jaded. I don't want to sound like ungrateful of all of this great progress, but we're sort of hit this point in the major gadget refresh cycles that things sort of have tapered off, and there's a lot of good technology I think that's going to be coming, but right now it's been a lot of refinement.
From my perspective, I have not been writing about gadgets day to day for years now, and it's just felt to me like everything's good enough.
Exactly. It's
Like
exactly right.
as soon as Apple made a laptop where, I mean, they were good at the trackpads, and then they solved battery life, and I could work all day on a laptop without plugging it in. And the phone is great. It's got a great camera. It just works.
I love the cracks on yours.
Yeah, well, that's a problem.
Yeah. No, I totally.
Yeah, the dissatisfactions with phones feel like, well, like my sister has a cracked phone too, and it's like, well, I don't have an upgrade right now. I don't have the money for it. There's like external. There are such a huge important part of our lives. They're not boring in that sense.
Right.
They've taken
Totally.
over our lives, and it's super important. But a new edition of it doesn't change my life because the current edition is so good.
Right.
already.
And that's what was like the basis of my iPhone 6S review, which is like, this is a great phone. What happens from here? And we all have these like complaints, but they're not big complaints. They're like, I need more storage.
Yeah,
I
battery
need some
life.
more battery life. They don't, I mean,
So I disagree. And it's funny. The second half of your column is you like predicting all the stuff that's going to be cool.
and I hope it
So
comes.
what do you think is cool that's coming?
I mean, I think wireless charging, like true wireless over-the-air charging, if it does not fry our brains like a microwave, it's going to be completely awesome and change everything. That's like the piece of technology in that column that I think is the most like cool and completely altering component. I mean, there's a lot of other cool things like screens and modular design and things like that. I don't know how much of that is going to change things, but.
So my big theory, and Joanna laughs at me about this every year at CES.
Yes, right, they're back.
Gadgets are back. Because I think the phones have gotten boring, and that means the investment and the dollars and the interest has to go somewhere else. And you're seeing all these little bits and bobs of that everywhere. So like drones, for example. Drones are fucking really interesting and great, and they can fly themselves now. And we, like yesterday, Ben Popper, if you know the noise a Phantom makes, and I know it very well because I flew a drone at my friend Dieter's wedding. My best friend, the drone, not Dieter.
You flew your best friend into a wedding.
The drones got married and Dieter flew through the air. It's very confusing. But like I heard that noise, like did like a Phantom makes when it boots up, and I was like, that is the most exciting noise. Like it's really cool what they can do. All the Internet of Things stuff is mostly garbage, and
That Wi-Fi wine bottle.
that Wi-Fi wine bottle.
That's exciting.
But some of it's really interesting. Some of it's really cool.
Right. Well, like Amazon, the Echo and the technology that's going into that kind of stuff, and I mean, which arguably could be, the smartphone is at the core of some of that, is awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
And VR, like I think that's the other one. And VR is built on smartphone parts.
I could actually make a pretty strong case that the Wi-Fi wine bottle is a super interesting and culturally important product.
Get it?
What does it do?
I agree completely. Please state your opinion so I may concur.
Wow.
What is the? I'm looking it
A
up.
little formal there.
So there's this wine. There's this wine bottle, but it's actually just a sleeve, and it has a tiny computer in it, a tiny touchscreen, and you can stick wine pods into it,
The cartridges.
cartridges. And there's this new trend. There's the Wi-Fi wine bottle. There's the
juicer.
Juicero,
Yeah.
which only lets you use like prepackaged juice
Juicero is
bags.
the dumbest thing in the world.
No, but they're both
I'm buying
Wi-Fi
one,
connected, smart, intelligent things that give you consumables in pods, and rather
Yeah.
tan you like making it yourself.
So they're
Can I
Keurigs for
say
everything
this?
else.
They're Keurigs. It's Keurigs for everything. So there's Uber for everything.
No, but
There's
a
gonna
bottle of wine it's not a Keurig. It's a bottle of wine. That
No.
you put another bottle of.
That's what I'm saying. Is they're turning it into a Keurig. There's a new trend in the way that people think about the things in their life. It's not just put a Wi-Fi chip on it. It's also like turn it into a subscription service. So like the idea that like software as a service is a thing that we've all accepted. Like you pay a subscription for Microsoft Office instead of going to Newegg or whatever and like buying the box. The companies are trying to take that same thing that blew up the technology world and apply it to like regular consumable goods like
Is
wine
Jake
or
drunk
coffee
here?
or
Jake
whatever.
is drunk in that video.
Yeah.
It's one of the best videos we've ever made.
And
Here's
on
what
top
I'll
of all
tell
of
you.
that, it's also like we are anybody who wants to make a computer that does crazy things can just go make one. And that's an old story, but like it's getting applied to more and more new things and people are just trying crazy shit. And I find that really compelling.
Here's what I'll say about
But
the
this wine
Juicero.
bottle is stupid.
The wine, yeah. It's
don't
not the
concur.
curing of wine. It's just whatever. But I get what you're saying.
It's trying to be.
They're regulating your use. Like the idea is that they'll cut down on your waste by knowing how much you're consuming, and they'll only sell you that much.
Right.
So like you can buy the 4 bottles, and then if you don't drink the 4 bottles, you won't buy another bottle.
I mean, you could argue all day that the Keurig is a terrible idea for coffee and for people, but you can't argue that they've sold a lot of Keurigs and a lot of coffee pods.
Can I just say this one thing that I actually promised somebody I would say?
Oh God.
The Juicero, started by the CEO of Organic Avenue,
Yeah.
and I was watching our staff discuss this fact yesterday, and Caitlin Tiffany, our social media manager, was like, Organic Avenue is the Taco Bell of organic food, and no one should trust him because he's a liar. And I thought that was the greatest burn I've ever heard. I've been trying to figure out what else I can refer to as the Taco Bell of organic food for literally 2 days. I tried to say it to Walt on the Walt podcast yesterday, and I just couldn't get it out. He was talking about the app versus webs, and I was like, yeah, Firefox is really the Taco Bell of organic food, and I couldn't even say all the words. It just was like, yeah, it didn't work that time. But keep that one in your heart.
Firefox is the Kirkland of browsers.
That's true.
It is true.
That is true.
Wait, but you're going to buy a Juicero. What is wrong with you?
Chris.
I don't understand something about it. Can I ask you real quick?
Yeah.
How do they get the organic things into the bags?
That's A, not something you need to know, and B, you don't want to know.
And that's why this can't be healthy.
When you go and buy bag salad, there's always like the chance that there's a rat in it, right?
What?
Wait, what?
Yes.
That is true.
Every year there's a story about like someone bought like a bag of salad home and they opened it up and then a live rat came scurrying out of the bag, right?
in
And now
salad
that's going to
bag.
happen to your juice.
Well, no, because
Like, how are they arguing
A
that?
surprising number of results for rat and salad bag. There's literally 500,000 results.
I mean, but they're putting organic kale and apples and pears into small little bags and claiming that that's going to be healthier and better for you than real juice.
It is real juice.
well, you're talking to me like I'm the CEO of Organic Avenue, Joanna. I'm just a simple man who wants a Juicero.
But you want to wait? Do you want to
Why?
Juicero because the name sounds like a beach party?
Well, I hadn't thought of that, but that's a very good
The
point.
It does sound like a beach party.
No.
No,
The name sounds like Hyundai's latest crossover vehicle.
That you would drive to a beach party.
Hyundai
like maybe-
Juicero is a great
Hyundai
name.
Juicero is
But
really
it would
good.
be for like an El Camino type thing.
Yeah,
with like a surfboard.
It
in the
has
back.
to be an El
Yes.
Camino
Yeah.
with
Yes.
a surfboard.
Yep.
It sounds like a beach party.
yes.
It sounds like you're young, you're having fun, you're juicing.
Look, I'm going to leave it at this. I want my entire life productized, and we're getting there. Most of my life has been productized. The one thing that hasn't been productized is vegetables. And we're finally to the point, thanks to the innovation of Juicero, where I can have that part of my life productized. And the reason I want my life productized is because every cool sci-fi movie I saw in the late 80s and early 90s had, people had their entire life productized.
That was all like dystopia, though. It was
Yeah.
all-
I'm ready for my dystopia, Dieter. I've been promised my dystopia.
It's a Juicero
I mean,
Soylent.
you did go all in on Soylent.
Yeah.
I went out in on Soylent. I'm
Are you
probably
still
going to buy
on the Soylent?
On occasion. I probably am going to buy a Casper mattress. I'm going to buy everything that's like the tech bro version of the mainstream product.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think with all of these things, there has to
Including
be a
your
purpose.
wine and juice.
I don't know if I see the purpose. If you really can't see what the purpose was going to be, then why?
Oh, I have no idea what the purpose is. I'm just going to
Right.
You just want
Wait,
it.
isn't the purpose to drink juice?
I mean, that's
Well,
the end
But
game,
what's
yeah.
wrong with the juice we're drinking? They say, oh, it's so hard to make all of this stuff. And it's true. I've juiced before. It is not easy. Okay?
Yeah,
I also just
this is
finished The
juicing
People
now?
vs. OJ, and it is amazing.
I was
Yeah,
like-
that's really good.
I-
What does that
I
do-
was-
oh, I see. Juice.
I bought like a $300 juicer, and I was like, I'm going to become the juice
Yeah.
man.
I remember that.
I like,
that was when we
set
were
up-
starting The Verge.
I set up a
he was into
recurring-
juice before anyone was into
I set up a
juice.
recurring fresh direct order, and all this green stuff would come to my house, and then I couldn't handle it all.
Yeah.
And if you didn't juice it right away, it all went bad, and then
true.
you had to like preserve the juice that you made. And
Hello,
it lasts, like,
Juicero.
one day.
So right,
Hello?
Juicero's saying that's the problem that they're solving. So I'm a little bit convinced that that's a good thing. But then when you think about what the sacrifices are going to be in terms of health and organicness and the Taco Bell of organicness, you're going down.
burns
Then what's
for
the
real.
point of this thing?
Yeah.
Well, it's to have juice.
Yeah.
It's to be rich and have juice whenever you
I'm
want.
just
it.
arguing like we don't need everything to be connected. Case
Yeah.
in point, the umbrella I tested last week.
What?
Okay?
Tell me about this.
Joanna doing work
want-
at the
I
journal.
did some real
I want an
work.
umbrella with a LTE radio in it, real bad,
For what? To do what?
just to have.
To have.
It'd be a
As like a
great
hotspot?
hotspot.
Yeah.
That would be
Tell you
something.
the weather.
Why?
This just tells
if
you
you're
that you left
using
it
the
behind.
umbrella, it is almost certain that you know what the weather.
But if
What
you
does
make
your
it look like a
umbrella-
cane, I could just look like
Well,
a
let's just have our
dandy
own
man.
podcast like we always said we were going
I'm
to.
really curious. What does the umbrella do?
It just tells you when you've left it behind.
Oh my God.
Wait, what? That's
Does it like send you a text?
Hang on.
And also, though, every time you walk away
Wait.
from your umbrella, you get a text.
So wait, the umbrella is a bad relationship.
So, like, I left it in my office, text.
does it text like "Don't leave me, I miss you"?
Yeah.
It's
No,
like
it's a
you
bad
don't have your
relationship.
umbrella with you.
The umbrella is
but
like
hang
you
on.
left me
What if-
behind.
I swear I can change.
What if it were smarter? What if it knew the
I feel
weather?
like you got a new job.
Right.
and you
and
never talked
it
to me.
sent you a text if you walked away when it knew it was going to rain later that day, but otherwise it left you alone.
Well, this does tell. I deleted the app because it was so bad, but it did tell you the weather with inside the app, so you could go check if it was going to rain today. But it didn't alert you to take your umbrella when you left it. But that would have been a better thing. But again, every time you left your umbrella, like it's a context thing. It's not smart enough to know where you're going.
Also, isn't that just tile? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So that's what. So basically, the highest innovation is tile and
Yes.
bagged juice.
Yes.
Couldn't Capri Sun just kill the Juicero by putting out Capri Sun with like healthy juice in it?
No, because there's no machine you put the Capri Sun into, Nilay. Why do I have to explain that? The Juicero bag has like real like
What does it do
vegetables.
in there?
It just presses the bag or something. you know?
it squeezes the bag. That's all it does. It squeezes the bag.
Right. I think
Because
actually
the
you're
stuff
down.
that comes directly out of the vegetable right then.
It
is
actually ends
healthier
up
for
being
you.
Capri Sun, but green.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds delicious.
I mean, Jake's getting a Juicero. We're gonna make. Jake is
To
on the
review?
Wi-Fi liquids beat.
Yeah.
He reviewed the Wi-Fi Brita pitcher. He did the Wi-Fi wine bottle.
This is
He's gonna
great.
get the Juicero.
This is a great trend.
Yeah,
I
the
need to do
problem
this
is that the
column.
video for the wine bottle will be better
Writing
than all
this
the other
down.
ones because he
Good ideas. I
got
always get
drunk.
good
in the
ideas
video.
when I'm here.
Yeah, but you just get him drunk before he does the video for all of these.
One time I had this like very emotional dinner with Joanna, and I was like telling her this like very emotional story, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm not
yeah.
listening to you."
It's true.
The ladies at the table next to us are talking about their Kindles, and I have to take notes. I was like, "Really?"
And guess what?
She's
It
like,
was
"This
a column."
Did that turn into a column?
Yep. It did. Whenever I get like a real opportunity to hear real people talk about technology, I have to seize the moment.
What are we? We're not real people?
No.
All right.
You know what? One thing that I would say is indicative of the current technology climate is that when Amazon made a Fire phone, it was terrible and nobody wanted it. Like, it's not like we're at this place where these big companies are like fending everybody off with pure market muscle. They are doing that. But like, I don't know, the barrier to entry is so high because you have to make something so good. And Amazon didn't do that. But if any company could, you would think Amazon could.
Well,
I feel like that was a really interesting product. It's like, I am excited for someone to do crazy, weird, new
Right.
things in tech. And I'm glad they tried. I'm really sad that they did a terrible job.
Right. Actually, you bring up a really good point because I think then there draws this line between gimmick and real usefulness. And the Fire phone ended up falling into gimmick, but there were some interesting technologies in there. The screen, I don't know what the point of it was,
Had,
but
like,
it was different.
A billion cameras on the front. and
Right.
You could look around.
but it's funny because if you had a phone with that screen now in VR, you could do all
Right.
kinds of cool stuff with it. They were just way ahead of that curve.
Right, that's what I wrote about in this piece. Like maybe a holograph display is actually not a gimmick anymore if this company can pull it off.
Right. I mean, but that's all improving the phone. Like, that's the thing to me. I think it's really hard to get around. It's the big improvements come not necessarily even when they come to Android, right? Like Android phone vendors do a lot of cool stuff all the time. And I think honestly right now, if I was buying a phone and I had no other phones and I didn't have this job and get a new phone every week, but whatever. If I had to just buy a phone right now, I would be extremely tempted by the S7.
Yeah.
Only
absolutely.
because of the Gear VR. Only because it has
So-
this one additional capability.
So I'm that jerk. I mean, I'm using a broken iPhone instead of using an S6 that I bought for Gear VR. And like Gear VR was Samsung's chance to prove to me that they could not screw up an operating system, and they didn't. They made such a bad experience. Like literally, I got the S6 for Gear VR, and I sat there for hours trying to figure out how to turn off all these automatic updates because I'd be trying to play Gear VR games and like, hey, I'm gonna update your, I don't know what their stupid apps are called.
TouchWiz.
They fixed it on the S7. I don't know if it's on the S6, but like when you go into Gear VR, you go to little settings inside VR. There's a do not disturb option now.
Right, but like they missed the chance.
Yeah.
I got an S6 when the Gear VR came out.
Yeah.
That was sad to me.
Remember Big Papa Joe?
Yeah.
Ladies loved
I'm
him.
frequently reminded of Big Papa Joe
Really?
on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of people who've got
People don't know who Big Papa Joe is.
kind
Explain this, Joe.
memories of old Vergecast moments.
So we used to take call-ins on this show. We might yet again. I will say this: real chance we're gonna like reboot the show. Let's send 200 episodes in this format. Tweak it around the edges a little bit. Anyway, we used to take call-ins. One of the call-ins, we asked people, "Is there anybody out there who likes TouchWiz?" Mm-hmm. And a man named Big Papa Joe called us. He told us that ladies love the Wiz. He told us that he could check all kinds of weather.
Right.
It was one of the most insane moments on the show ever, I think. We've had other insane moments, though, I believe.
Do you guys still have the Fanboy Wars with Android and Windows Phone?
We have
Android.
We have Android iOS wars. The new Fanboy Wars are VR platforms. So all of our Oculus review comments were Vive fanboys, and all of our Vive review comments were.
That makes
Oculus
sense.
fanboys.
I am thrilled that we're getting a Nintendo Sega console war in VR right away. I think that so much good is going to come of that.
What I think is really interesting is the level of sophistication of understanding. The VR fanboy war is incredibly nuanced.
Yeah, it's already super meta.
It's super meta. A bunch of the stuff can work across the platforms. It's all just plugging into a gaming PC. So there's no like hardware limitations there. And there's a lot of conversation about Steam being locked down versus store exclusives versus DRM at like an incredibly deep nerd level. And it's remarkable. I mean, even with the Fire Phone, the reason everybody knew to be disappointed with the Fire Phone before it ever even came out was because Amazon made the decision to fork the ecosystem and use the Fire ecosystem instead of regular Android. And like a generation of consumers instinctively knew that was a bad idea. Like at a corporate strategic level, you're forking the platform. You're not going to get developer support. That to me is the big difference from when we started. I started Engadget in 2006, 2007. You had been there for a little bit.
2005.
I think I started in 2007. But it's funny, even just back then, the amount of whatever, it's a new product. It'll be as good as the other products without all of the backstory. And now the backstory is taken for granted, right? So the VR fanboys are like ridiculously sophisticated. And they're arguing about the most insane. They're arguing about the moral implications of a store exclusive versus actual DRM.
Well, yeah, VR's had that, I think, since really early on because Oculus got bought by Facebook, and then Notch, the creator of Minecraft, said he wouldn't put Minecraft on Oculus.
Right.
Because Facebook is a big evil company. And I think that's really interesting where Oculus seemed like this chance for a new out of nowhere Kickstarter project to redefine a whole platform, a whole thing of experience. And then they got bought by Facebook, and they're still doing really cool stuff, but it's not as impressive, I guess.
Right. I don't know. I mean, do you remember that day? It was CS 2012 when Palmer Luckey showed up at the trailer with the first Oculus.
Yeah, I think it was 2012.
Yeah, it was like our first CS. First or second? First.
Let's see.
It had to be 2012.
I think it was 2012, and it was amazing.
And that was like ski goggles with duct tape on them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dieter is just reading old trees.
No, I'm trying to find my
It was,
first, my
2013
first tech
actually.
article.
You saw it
2013?
before that, though, right?
Yeah, so the first time I think most anyone saw it was Billy and Jordan are video producers, and I went to see John Carmack in Texas because he had an aerospace company. We were gonna look at his rockets, And while we were there, he's like, I've got this thing. This dude on the internet made it. It seems pretty cool. You want to check it out? And it was literally ski goggles. The original Oculus Rift, John Carmack had just made it based on Palmer's like forum design.
Wow.
And that was the first time we saw it. It was May 2012. And then 2013 is when they first did their CES. And that's when he came to the trailer, showed to everyone on a slightly better version, still duct taped everywhere.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was mind blowing. I don't think there's been Joanna, you just did a big VR piece. Do you think it's going to, what do you think the curve is for the normals?
I think, well, actually, I was just thinking that as Ross said that. So 2012 to now for what we're seeing in the Oculus, right?
Yep.
So let's think similar to what we're going on right now. I mean, that thing was a janky, crazy prototype. I mean,
yeah, I think it was like 640 by 480 per eye. Like it was like barely anything. It was super blurry. There's like no like adjusting the game. I think they used a Doom 3 like tweaked version of that. It was the ugliest thing, but it was still so compelling that you could like just look around, not walk around, just kind of look around and use the controller for everything else.
Every
I mean,
demo.
that is actually, and like that's where I feel like I do feel like I feel like an asshole for the last like 30 minutes complaining about, oh, we've just seen smartphones, they're so boring, like what you're saying, like that's amazing that we witnessed this, right? Like we are witnessing that happen, and that is amazing. And like we're going to witness it with VR, and we've definitely witnessed it with smartphones, and it is amazing.
Right.
Like,
Well, and augmented reality is going to be crazy.
Do you think it's going to
I
be
think
bigger
there's
than
some combination of the two.
I think it's definitely going to be augmented reality is going to be bigger for sure.
What do you think? Because I think Microsoft's making obviously the bigger bet on AR with HoloLens, and my suspicion is that Apple will make a bigger bet on AR than VR.
I think augmented reality, it doesn't take up your whole eye, and so you're still in the world, and so you can improve the world that you're in. I mean, I really think that the ideal augmented, I think they're kind of doing this with the new Pokemon thing. I really think the I don't know if they're going to do a good job, but the sheer concept of this Pokemon augmented reality AR game kind of thing, where you take a universe that has always been virtual and a dream and put it into the real world, is going to be so compelling, and it's going to take over people's lives. It's going to be something to do with all your time. It's not a hobby, really. It's not something you go home and do after work. It's now part of your whole life, and I think that only works when it's augmented reality, because VR, you have to set aside a specific time to go away and do it. Like
there's the isolating factor of VR, which you're talking about, which is people just keep asking, like, where will I be doing this? And I'm like, well, sitting at home or going in your office, you would set aside this time to possibly do some sort of training or do some sort of tour of a house or a number of different things. I just think there could be this combination of both that gets people used to either I'm going to go to this world or I'm going to use these glasses to improve something in my current world, like measuring a kitchen cabinet or shopping or something like that.
But wait, that's a total paradigm shift that you're describing, right? Because the concept of where do I use technology didn't exist until phones. Because previous to that,
You had a computer
you
room.
had to decide.
Right.
Dean was really big on computer.
I love a computer room.
But
And
like you
what's
had a
popular
computer
now?
room, you had a living room, you would go to the office to use a computer, you would go to school to use a computer. There were distinct times and places in which you would use technology.
And that's foreign to people. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel
Right.
right.
But that was 10 years ago. That was just 100% true.
Right. And I think VR is literally making people right now look at their home and figure out how to enjoy it.
Right.
But I think that is going to keep it a relative niche to what mobile phones were able to do, which is be everywhere all the time, always useful.
Do you think anything's going to come up and be as disruptive as a phone?
I mean, if the hype behind Magic Leap turns out to be anywhere near true, I think it could like realize this vision that Paul's talking about. I think that indoor drones, I don't know if they'll be as disruptive as the phone, but like drones are amazing, but they like the use cases are like, filming stuff and screwing around outside, but we're starting to see some like quiet, reasonable indoor drones that can run around and do things. And I think that if someone can figure out a mainstream use for that, that's going to be a big change and a big shift.
Oh, so that question, by the way, was a setup for Chris. Because the obvious answer of what the next disruptive thing is self-driving cars.
I don't think that's the next.
Really?
No, I think that's the disruptive thing 2 or 3 things from now. Like if you go back 100 years, the big disruptive thing happens every 7 to 20 years, right? You have the internet, you have the computer, you could make an argument for the laptop. The ubiquitous laptop is a disruptive thing. Then the phone, then
Like
VR.
The iPhone.
Yeah.
Then obviously the Android tablet ecosystem.
Of course. And I think we're still in the pre-iPhone days of both VR and drones, where the truly magical moment in both of those categories hasn't happened yet.
I think the Phantom. I think the Phantom 4 is a drone.
No, but it's still a niche product, right? Like your parents are not saying, "Oh, I got to have a Phantom 4." Like
Who? Not everyone needs everything. First of all, that's my motto.
Don't hate on his best friend, the Phantom 4. He's going to defend that
It's
guy
like
to the
not
end.
everyone. Not only
Like
does
once
not
or
everyone
twice
need
a
everything.
year, what are you using drones for?
I think
Dude,
drones
I mean,
become
one-
disruptive when they start delivering
Yeah.
stuff to my house, like juice
good point.
packs.
Yeah.
that's
No,
Yes.
not juice packs. Things of actual vegetables to make the juice.
Right.
No, drones delivering vegetables is literally this dystopian future.
Fine.
Okay, just as long as we're
But
clear.
I still don't think I like drones. They're very fun to watch and play with, but what is the real practical use of drones other than what Paul has just mentioned?
So
I mean, and taking very beautiful video at people's weddings and putting in our own videos. It's beautiful. It's
I really
beautiful.
need to put that Ring video on the site, by the way.
Yeah.
I just realized I haven't done that. But don't you feel guilt in your heart about turning your friend's wedding into content?
No.
No.
All right, we'll do it. That's what's told. Anyway.
Yes.
Thanks, Paul. See, I knew there was a reason I had you on the show today. I think it's more like if you have a drone in your life is better.
Okay. Cool.
People.com.
That's not it. I think if you have anything in your life that can move around for you, that radically changes like your reach as a person. So right now the Phantom 4 can fly around and take pictures. But instead of relying on a company to drone things to you, if you can take a drone out in the world and send it somewhere for you, that is a totally different value proposition.
You want to serve.
Why won't we just have Uber do it?
What do you mean?
Well, but like your presence, if you've got AR or VR, you feel immersed in another world, but that other world could be the thing that the drone is showing you. So if I want to go hang out in San Francisco, I could like log into a drone that's in San Francisco, go have my meeting in the office with like my little flying drone.
There's a Portlandia
Around.
episode or skit about exactly that.
Yeah.
Telepresence robots?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they visit a what concert is it? They
Why
visit.
do you need the drone for that?
Because the drone can get around in physical space.
Oh, it's a Flaming Lips. They visit a
without
Flaming Lips
having
concert
to,
using
like,
a drone.
Get help. Like if you've used the iPad
yeah,
on
yeah,
a stick,
right, the iPad,
remote,
yeah.
But if you can get a good indoor flying drone that isn't dangerous and isn't loud and is like, and we accept it as not the creepiest thing ever, which we might not.
Super the creepiest thing ever.
So offices have flying drones with people
Hanging out.
on them.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is great.
And because it's AR, like
Right,
they'll have
okay.
a little QR code on them, and like you'll tell the system this is Dieter, and like there'll be two drones
Yes.
talking to each other,
Yes.
but they'll each person looking at it through their VR
Right.
headset will just see the person.
So for
Or
homework,
holograms.
Yeah.
think about it.
for homework, everybody
Yeah.
needs
Give me a high
holograms.
five, dude. God damn it, man.
everybody
Unless
needs
you're raising
to
your hand to
read,
talk.
It's like,
Mr. Patel, you have something to say.
yes, I'm the host of the show.
No, Paul is. Paul is
I'm
making a
giving
point,
people
and I have to
homework.
go in 5 minutes.
I'm
Can
giving
someone
people
drive me as a
homework.
drone?
Everybody needs to read Rainbow's End by Werner Vinge, which explains the whole augmented reality future. Where one of the really interesting things about that, you
Rainbow's
mentioned
End?
that QR code. You can have consensual realities. Where it's like, I've decided that I want to represent myself as this way, and I'm going to be a big fluffy bunny, and other people who want to be part of that reality can see me the way I want to be represented, and you kind of divide up the same meat space into lots of different realities all at once, and it's insane.
But why does it have to be augmented reality? Why can't it be virtual reality? Because did you read Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
that's like similar in a way.
because Ready Player One is more dystopian to me because, like, as much as I like the idea of being in like a Matrix style tube with my brain jacked in for the rest of my life, I don't think my mom would like that.
Right. But when you're picturing yourself as this fluffy bunny, which you are already,
Thank you.
why do you? What is the purpose of augmented? Like just the fact that you can see through and that you can see those other objects in the real world.
Yeah, I'm in the real world with all its perks, and yet I'm choosing to see all Coca-Cola ads as ads for Slurm or whatever. And is that a
Slurm?
thing? I don't
What
know.
is Slurm?
Slurm?
Tell me more about Slurm.
I think Slurm's a
I was just
thing.
going along with
It's
it.
actually the next generation of pentile displays. Slurm displays.
What happened with that? What
That
happened
was
to
just a
pentile
toss out for the
displays?
people who have been tweeting me about pentile displays this entire time.
Yeah,
God.
it's from Futurama.
By the way, Nilay Patel
Yeah.
has always loved pentile
I'm
displays.
going to read that book 'cause I need
Super
to
lie.
understand a little bit more
Is
about
the S7 still pentile?
how we can still live
Probably.
in augmented reality.
What does pentile even mean anymore?
Oh God.
Okay, can we
Remember
wrap
when I
this?
used to take
We should
macro
totally wrap
it up.
photos?
Rainbows in. It's great.
Look, here's what I
This
know.
has
been
Here's what I know.
a
Gadgets are
casual-
back.
End.
Rainbows
This has been the
Wrap for
Gadget
you.
podcast. Greetings,
Casual,
mobile
I say.
accomplishers.
like the
God.
possessive.
Look, here's what I know. Gadgets are back. And they're going to drive themselves around. They're going to fly around. They're going to look like bunnies, apparently, in some sort of AR dystopia. They're going to make you fucking juice because you have no idea how to spend money. Just none.
Well, he does work at AOL still, so he's making too much money.
He's making. You're going to spend those AOL
Two salaries.
G's. Poor AOL. David Pogue, editor of Engadget. That's like it's just still my life. Because if they buy Yahoo
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
and Yahoo Tech merges with that, where are they going to stick them?
That makes sense.
Look, here's what I know. Gadgets are back. I'm just going to keep saying it. I believe it in my heart. Like, the phones are boring. The world around phones, you can't try to make money on the phone. It's really hard to even make a phone app anymore, right? Do you read? Everyone should read Casey Newton's piece, Life and Death in the App Store. It is so hard to launch a new app on the iPhone now because the space is crowded.
Yeah.
The App Store policies aren't great.
I launched the app. I made like
Are you-
$300.
What was your app? Do you know I still have the app on my phone that counts down when you're going to come back to the internet?
Really?
Hold on. Oh, Dan told me the S7 is still pentile.
Thanks, Dan.
Nice.
That's why I didn't buy it.
Nice.
Wait, let me open this app.
It's a great phone.
Where is it? Spotlight. It's garbage. Oh, there it is. Paul, you've been back online for. Oh my God! It reset.
No.
It's over
You're going
1,000
offline?
days. You've been back online for 17 minutes, 17 hours, and
Over
something
1,000 days.
Yeah.
something over 1,000 days. No, I just think the ecosystem of things around gadgets. We didn't talk about wearables once on this show.
Yeah,
We
because
didn't
they're-
talk. How's your Apple Watch?
Yeah, I
You're
interrupted
both
him
wearing them
before.
over there.
I mean, I haven't bought another watch because this one was so expensive. Like, it tells time. That's cool.
I haven't worn mine in like 2 weeks, and the only thing I miss is telling the time.
Dieter's wearing a 360.
Paired to an iPhone.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
a move.
Wow.
Good move.
The Wirecutter today said the 360 is the best smartwatch on the market. That is aggressive in my mind. But
I actually do think also for the design I was wearing the other one, and it looks really a lot nicer than the
Did they
Apple
say
Watch.
for the
Dieter,
market
by the
or
way,
for?
just in case you want to know what the experience of sitting next to Dieter on the Vergecast is, he just looked at his
Constant.
smartwatch and dismissed a Trello notification.
What?
Like super casually. He was like, nope. And then started typing. That's what it's like working at Verge. Anyway, this was a great show. I'm very happy to have worked with all of you in this way for so long. I mean, I still work with most of you, so it's fine.
I still work at AOL.
God damn it. That joke is just going to keep going.
Hey, Chris,
Can
what
you-
day is it?
Friday.
Okay.
Wish.
What?
You're weird.
Right.
Everyone's very. Hey, look, that was a show. We have a million other shows that you can listen to. I have a show with Walt Mossberg, which is, by the way, when we were all leaving Engadget to do this, the idea that years later Walt would work at The Verge and I would host a podcast with him,
And I would have Walt's old job.
and you
yes.
have Walt's old job. That is fucking bonkers. Just like everybody, just think about that. That is fucking.
I think about that
bonkers.
often.
That is weird. And one day you and I are gonna have a podcast. That's weird.
We are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're going to call me old man on the podcast. For Walt's favorite show. Anyway, so Control-Alt-Delete. Chris Pine has What's Tech. Emily Yoshida and Liz Lopato have Vergecast, our entertainment science show. Lauren Good has Too Embarrassed to Ask. There's so many of these. Lauren Good has Too Embarrassed to Ask on the Recode Network. Kara Swisher has Recode Decode. Peter Kafka has Recode Media. Is there one more?
Probably.
Dieter Bohn has a podcast in his head.
Yeah.
The Verge Mobile Show is still not
Oh
back
God,
on the
do
air.
not bring up the Verge Mobile Show.
It never will.
If you are on Twitter, please tweet at ZPower about the Verge Mobile Show.
No, at Vlad and Dan. Actually.
we'll think of something.
Let's start a podcast.
Joanna is at the Wall Street Journal, where she makes a video every week. With
Behind a paywall.
Not behind a paywall. Not.
Those things are cool.
Why aren't they coming out?
Yeah.
You got to flick it.
You gotta
We gotta be
All right,
aggressive.
we're gonna celebrate. That was Vergecast 200. Thank
like
you
the
for
Windows
listening.
Mobile.
Thank you for sticking. Get out. Joanna's done. Joanna's fired all over again. Bye. Thank you for being with us for 200 episodes. Rock and roll.
Paul.
Rock and roll.
Paul. Sternburn.